Tracy McGrady was the kind of player who made greatness look effortless. Standing at 6 feet 8 inches, he possessed the perfect combination of size, finesse, and basketball IQ. His silky smooth jump shot and natural ability to dominate games made it clear. He was born to be a legend. Yet, as fate would have it, talent alone wasn't enough to secure his legacy. Injuries became the unwanted storyline of McGrady's career. Despite having all the physical gifts, he was frequently sidelined, not by opponents but by his own body. His back, in particular, betrayed him time and time again, setting off a chain of physical breakdowns that would haunt him throughout his career. Even so, when Tracy was on the court, he was electric. He made headlines, dropped jaw-dropping stat lines, and gave fans glimpses of the Hall of Fame-level player he could have become. But every time he found momentum, injuries pulled him back into the shadows. His story became one of what-ifs and lost potential. Tracy's NBA journey was a roller coaster of brilliance and heartbreak. He exploded onto the scene with all the excitement of a rising superstar. Coaches, analysts, and fans all believed he was destined for all-time greatness. But as the years went on, a troubling pattern emerged. He simply couldn't stay healthy. His body was like a high-performance engine with recurring glitches. No matter how often it was fixed, it kept breaking down. Over his 11-season career, not once did McGrady complete a full 82-game season. That's right, never. It was as if some cruel twist of fate had chosen him specifically to endure this ongoing struggle. The injuries weren't just occasional. They were persistent, ranging from debilitating to barely manageable. His back, his shoulder, and his knee each gave out in succession, each cutting short what could have been historic runs. Things hit rock bottom after microfracture surgery on his knee, a desperate procedure for many athletes. It was supposed to give him a second chance. Instead, it robbed him of the explosiveness that once defined his game. Tracy could no longer glide through the air or blow past defenders with that signature flair. He was still talented, but the magic, that unstoppable spark, had faded. And his back? It remained a ticking time bomb. It would spasm without warning, sometimes right in the middle of games. On one occasion, the pain was so severe he had to be stretchered off the court. It was a heartbreaking image. A superstar being wheeled away, not by defeat, but by something far more tragic, his own body turning against him. Fans and experts alike often reflect on McGrady with a mix of awe and sorrow. They speak of the player he was, but more often of the legend he was never allowed to become. He wasn't just a basketball player, he was a poetic tragedy in motion. A story of brilliance undone by the cruelest opponent of all. It was the kind of moment no basketball fan ever wants to witness. A once dominant athlete brought to his knees, literally. Tracy McGrady, once a symbol of agility and raw athleticism, was now battling relentless back spasms that could strike without warning. Each unexpected episode left him sidelined, often during key stretches of the season, and every time he returned, it was obvious. Something had changed. The explosive speed, the silky footwork, all dulled. McGrady could still perform, but the electric version of him that used to light up arenas was fading. He wasn't the same player fans had come to admire, the one who could effortlessly drop 40 points on a good night. Then came the 2005-06 season, a supposed fresh chapter. But just as things began to click, his ankle buckled, and to make matters worse, those familiar back spasms reappeared with a vengeance. He was forced to miss 8 games, and even when he suited up again, the damage was evident. His movements were tentative, his explosiveness gone. As if fate hadn't done enough, another blow struck the Houston Rockets. Yao Ming suffered a leg injury, leaving Tracy to carry the team alone. The pressure mounted, but McGrady didn't back down. Despite the constant pain, he dug deep and led the charge. But even his heroic efforts weren't enough. The Rockets fell short in the playoffs, bowing out to the Utah Jazz. By then, Tracy's body was deteriorating in ways no one had predicted. His elbow flared up, sending him for X-rays. Thankfully, just a strain, but the alarm bells were already ringing. Then the ankle again. And finally, his left knee joined the list of betrayers. He tried to fight through it, limping through games until he had to be pulled off the floor altogether. By 2008, McGrady was no longer a basketball player in his prime. He was a warrior held together by bandages and determination. His shoulder was sore, his knee was constantly a problem, and he missed 16 games that season alone. The pattern had become painful and predictable: a promising start, a devastating injury, and a return to the floor as a shadow of his former self. Eventually, surgery was the only option, this time on both his shoulder and knee. But the procedures offered little relief. As the next season dawned, Tracy was back on the injured list. The knee pain persisted, and McGrady admitted to reporters that it felt like no progress had been made. "It's like I never even had surgery," he confessed, visibly frustrated. These recurring injuries didn't just affect his performance, they rewrote his entire narrative. Once tipped as the future face of the NBA, McGrady's career became a haunting what if, a saga of supreme talent shackled by physical limitations. But let's rewind. Tracy McGrady's NBA odyssey began with raw promise in Toronto. Selected directly from high school as a lottery pick at just 18 years old, he joined the Raptors with sky-high expectations. His early years were modest, averaging under 10 points per game and playing limited minutes. But his potential was clear to those paying attention. Standing at 6'8", McGrady was one of the tallest shooting guards in league history. He possessed a jaw-dropping 43-inch vertical leap, rapid acceleration, and a natural scoring instinct. Even in limited action, his future stardom was obvious. It wasn't until his third season in Toronto that things truly started to click. With more minutes and confidence, he posted averages of over 15 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists per game. His versatility, length, and athleticism hinted at a rising force, one that was ready to dominate. And dominate he did, just not for as long as the world had hoped. He was seen as the future of the franchise. The Raptors faithful were ecstatic, dreaming of a dominant duo in Vince Carter and Tracy McGrady, leading the team to championship glory. But destiny had other plans. McGrady made the bold choice to leave Toronto and sign with the Orlando Magic, a decision that would deeply reshape the course of his career. Between the ages of 23 and 26, McGrady blossomed into one of the league's premier talents, an elite force who could go toe-to-toe with legends like Kobe Bryant. His performance during these years was nothing short of spectacular. When stacked against NBA icons such as Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Dwyane Wade, and Allen Iverson, McGrady stood tall, ranking second in rebounds per game, fourth in assists, and third in scoring. These staggering stats didn't just tell the story of a star, they signaled the rise of one of the greatest shooting guards the game had ever seen. But his move to Orlando came with a twist of cruel irony. The Magic had simultaneously signed Grant Hill, an All-Star and former MVP candidate, to form a dynamic partnership with McGrady. On paper, it looked like a dream team in the making. Hill's unselfish style and off-ball efficiency perfectly complemented McGrady's explosive scoring. Fans envisioned deep playoff runs and perhaps a title. Unfortunately, reality had other plans. Grant Hill's career was derailed by chronic injuries, playing just 47 games over the 4 seasons they shared in Orlando. The much-anticipated duo never materialized. Left without a reliable co-star, McGrady was forced to shoulder an immense burden. Night after night, he carried a team filled with role players, dragging them into competitiveness through sheer willpower and skill. Despite the lack of support, McGrady's prime years in Orlando became a masterclass in individual brilliance. During the 2002-2003 season, at just 23 years old, he posted jaw-dropping averages of 32 points, 6.5 rebounds, and 5.5 assists per game, numbers few players in history have ever matched. In the playoffs, the Magic faced the top-seeded Detroit Pistons. Though outmatched on paper, McGrady refused to back down. He almost single-handedly pushed the series to a grueling 7-game battle, showing off not just his scoring, but also his heart and determination under pressure. McGrady's highlight reels from this era were the stuff of legend: behind-the-back dribbles, fadeaway jumpers, and acrobatic finishes that left fans and defenders in awe. "That's how you win," commentators would shout as McGrady lit up the court with creativity and finesse. But even as his legend grew, so did the missed opportunities. Over his 4 years with the Magic, McGrady only had 2 brief windows to team up with high-level talent. The first, with Grant Hill, was sadly cut short by injury. The second was with his cousin Vince Carter, who arrived too late and stayed too briefly to make any real impact. The Orlando chapter of McGrady's career was supposed to be the launching pad for NBA greatness. Instead, it became a story of what could have been. A superstar trapped in a cycle of carrying an average roster, his extraordinary talents often wasted in early playoff exits. And yet, these years still shine brightly in the memory of basketball fans. Not just because of what McGrady achieved, but because of what he overcame. Join us as we look deeper into this remarkable period where Tracy McGrady didn't just play basketball, he redefined what it meant to be a one-man army. Tracy McGrady's career, once brimming with potential and dreams of championship glory, ultimately became a poignant tale of brilliance, overshadowed by unfulfilled promise. Despite his incredible skill and relentless determination, the elusive NBA title remained just out of reach. Hoping for a fresh start, McGrady made a move to the Houston Rockets, where he envisioned finally capturing the success he had long chased. The team's acquisition of rising star center Dwight Howard sparked excitement among fans, who imagined the pair forming a dominant duo. Ironically, had McGrady remained in Orlando just a bit longer, he could have joined forces with Howard there, possibly reshaping the NBA landscape with their combined talents. McGrady's offensive firepower, paired with Howard's commanding presence in the paint, could have given Orlando a real shot at becoming title contenders. This what-if scenario continues to intrigue fans. McGrady's leadership and offensive brilliance might have carried the Magic deep into the playoffs, perhaps even to the NBA Finals. Together, they could have formed one of the league's most feared tandems. But fate had other plans. Instead, McGrady took his talents to Houston. During his tenure with the Rockets, McGrady delivered moments of pure basketball magic. One of the most unforgettable came when he scored 13 points in a mere 33 seconds to stun the San Antonio Spurs, a feat still celebrated as one of the greatest individual performances in NBA history. Yet behind those electric moments, his career began to slowly decline. Time, coupled with a series of physical setbacks, began to erode the superstar's edge. Initially, McGrady remained a beloved figure in Houston, admired for his effort and still feared by defenders. But the playoff success he longed for never materialized. The injuries piled up. From persistent back spasms to surgeries on his knees and shoulders, his body could no longer withstand the demands of elite competition. From ages 29 to 32, his production declined noticeably compared to his prime and to his contemporaries, largely due to these lingering physical issues. Even the best medical support couldn't restore the explosiveness that once defined him. The injuries were just one piece of the puzzle, though. There was also growing concern about McGrady's leadership. Championship teams often rally behind a vocal, determined leader, someone who elevates not only their game but also the players around them. Unfortunately, McGrady was often seen as too passive in this role. A telling example came during Houston's historic 22-game winning streak. When asked who led the team during that stretch, the Rockets' general manager credited not McGrady but backup center Chuck Hayes. That statement underscored McGrady's struggle to inspire and lead during critical moments, a factor that may have kept him from achieving the greatness his raw talent deserved. Ultimately, Tracy McGrady's journey through the NBA was one of extraordinary skill paired with lost opportunities. He was, without question, one of the most naturally gifted scorers the game has ever seen. Yet his legacy is shaped just as much by the what could have been as by what actually occurred. Ultimately, Tracy McGrady's journey through the NBA was one of extraordinary skill paired with lost opportunities. He was, without question, one of the most naturally gifted scorers the game has ever seen. Yet his legacy is shaped just as much by the what could have been as by what actually occurred. As his career wound down, McGrady's statistics fell, and the athleticism that once dazzled fans faded under the weight of chronic injuries. Still, his influence endured. He inspired a generation of future stars with his scoring finesse, unwavering work ethic, and his ability to shine in adversity. Derrick Rose is another powerful example. The youngest MVP in league history, Rose was a phenomenon, his speed and explosiveness unmatched. He brought hope back to the Chicago Bulls and seemed destined to bring titles to the city. But a torn ACL in the 2012 playoffs marked the beginning of a downward spiral. Though he continued to fight and play, the version of Rose that once amazed the world was never quite the same. He became another chapter in the long book of players whose bodies couldn't keep pace with their dreams. McGrady, Penny, Roy, Bias, Williams, Oden, and Rose. These players are bound together by more than talent. They're linked by the pain of lost chances, by dreams that nearly became reality but were derailed by cruel twists of fate. Their stories are tragic not because they failed, but because we saw how close they came to rewriting NBA history. Tracy McGrady, with his unforgettable highlights and sheer talent, remains one of the most prominent faces of this group. His career was remarkable, but always clouded by the question, what if? When fans talk about McGrady, they aren't just discussing stats or playoff records. They're remembering the hope he sparked, the magical moments he delivered, and the championships he nearly brought. If you found this story compelling, be sure to explore our other videos filled with powerful NBA tales and forgotten legends. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.